Hi friends, today we're going to start our study of Knowledge 4 of Greek myths. Today's story is going to be Lesson 1 called The 12 Gods of Mount Olympus. Before we begin our story, I'm going to introduce our vocabulary words. Our first vocabulary word for today's story is the word glimpse. Repeat after me, glimpse. A glimpse means a brief or quick look. Our second vocabulary word means spectators. Say spectators. Spectators are observers, or people watching an event. Our last vocabulary word is the word tending. Say tending. Tending means taking care of or caring for someone or something. Leonidas woke up early on the day of the foot races. Still lying in bed, he could hear his father Cyrus outside tending the horses. He's probably feeding them, Leonidas thought to himself. And then we'll harness them to the cart and make our way to Olympia. Olympia was the site of the day's foot races in honor of Zeus, the leader of all the Greek gods and goddesses. Leonidas and his father would take their pottery to sell to the people at the races, and when they had sold all that they could, they would watch them. Leonidas knew that if he asked, his father would tell him again how the gods and goddesses came to be, and why he and the other Greeks honored them with races, festivals, and feasts. It was his favorite story, and he loved to hear his father tell it. But first, Leonidas had to get out of bed and get dressed, otherwise he wouldn't get to hear the story or see the races at all. After breakfast, he went outside to help his father Cyrus, who just finished harnessing the first of the two horses to the cart. "Good morning, father," Leonidas said. "Good morning, son. We're almost ready to go. Will you help me harness this last horse?" Leonidas nodded, and together, as the sun burned away the morning fog, father and son harnessed the second horse. Once they double-checked that the horses were securely fastened to the cart, Leonidas and Cyrus finished storing their pottery safely in the cart. Then, taking their seats on a wooden plank at the front, they started their journey to Olympia. After they traveled some miles down the road, Leonidas asked, "Father, will you tell me again the story of the gods and goddesses?" "Of course, son. As you know, we're going to Olympia for the foot races held in honor of Zeus. Olympia is the home of an important sanctuary devoted to Zeus, where we celebrate him and the other Olympian gods and goddesses with sporting competitions. The 12 gods of Mount Olympus are the most powerful of all of the many gods, and Zeus is their leader. Of course, Mount Olympus is actually far away, but this is a beautiful valley, to them perfect for the games." Their cart went over a bump, and Cyrus turned around to check their wares briefly before continuing his story. "These gods and goddesses can sometimes be just like you and me. They can feel happy or sad, jealous and angry, or generous and loving. Unlike you or me, they have special powers to control things, like the seasons and the weather, when and where there is war, and sometimes with whom we fall in love. And unlike you and me, the gods are immortal, which means they never die." Cyrus paused before continuing on with Leonidas' favorite part of the story. "That's how the gods are different from mortals on Earth. But do you know how to tell them apart from one another?" Leonidas did know, but he wanted his father to continue telling the story, so he said, "Yes, father, but tell me anyways." Cyrus continued on saying, "Well, as I said before, Zeus is the leader of all the gods and protects all of us here on Earth. He has a voice like rolling thunder and controls the wind, rain, and lightning, which he also uses as his weapons. He has two brothers, Hades and Poseidon, and together they rule over the whole world. While Zeus controls the heavens, Poseidon controls the sea and rules over it with a trident. When he strikes the ground with his trident, the earth shakes, and when he strikes the sea with it, the waves rise up as tall as a mountain. Zeus and Poseidon are two of the 12 gods who live on Mount Olympus and have thrones there." Leonidas and his father came to a fork in the road and turned left. They could now see other carts ahead of them in the distance, other vendors looking to sell their wares at the foot races in Olympia. "And what about Hades, Zeus's other brother?" Leonidas asked. "While Zeus rules the heavens and Poseidon rules the sea, Hades rules the underworld, or the land of the dead. Hades has a helmet that makes him invisible, so that no one, friend or foe, can see him coming. Hades' throne is in the underworld, where he lives," Cyrus said. "He sounds scary," Leonidas shivered. "Who else lives on Mount Olympus?" Well, Cyrus said, Zeus also has a sister who has a throne on Mount Olympus. Demeter is the goddess of harvest and grain. She looks after all the fields and crops on earth. Zeus's wife Hera also lives on Mount Olympus. She is the queen of the gods and goddesses and is the goddess of women's lives. How many is that? Cyrus turned and asked his son. Counting on his fingers, Leonidas said, Zeus, Poseidon, Demeter, and Hera. Just 4. Who are the other gods and goddesses who live on Mount Olympus? Well, there's Hephaestus, god of fire and blacksmith of the gods, Aphrodite, goddess of love, Athena, goddess of wisdom, and Ares, god of war. Then there are the twins, Apollo, the god of light and music, and his sister, Artemis, the goddess of the hunt. There's Hermes, the messenger of the gods, and finally Dionysus, the god of grapes and the youngest of all gods. Even though these are the most powerful of all gods and goddesses, Zeus is the strongest of all, and it is he whom we honor today. Cyrus stopped at the cart. They had finally reached Olympia. Spectators and vendors moved all around them as the athletes stretched in preparation for the races. Leonidas knew that many miles away was cloud-covered Mount Olympus. As the midday sun shone through some of the clouds, Leonidas imagined he could see the briefest glimpse of a palace with 12 golden thrones.